Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om. Devotees, so we have been seeing Narada Bhakti Sutra, and to be able to understand Narada Bhakti Sutra, we were preparing ourselves with refreshing the knowledge of Vedanta. Who is the Jivatma? Who is the Paramatma? We saw that the Jivatma is not this body, not this mind, and as an individual, the Jivatma is that entity which carries the Papa Punya and the samskaras from birth to birth, and it uses the free will to improve itself. This is the Jivatma as an individual. It is a reflection of the pure consciousness. The consciousness reflected on this individuality is what we consider as ourselves as individuals. Paramatma is a supreme being. He is that person who calls his entire universe as himself. This entire universe is the physical form of the Lord. All the life in all this universe is his life only. It's a manifestation of his life. All the thoughts in all the minds of all individuals are manifestations of his universal mind. Everything in this universe happens by his will, and to the last detail, everything happens by his will alone. And the question would arise, if everything happens by the will of Ishvara, then what is the free will that we have as individuals? From this point of view, the only freedom that we have is for Jnana, Bhakti, Vairagya. Everything happens by his will. Now we have the freedom whether to identify ourselves with this body, mind, our individuality, or to identify ourselves as pure consciousness. This jnanam is our free will. We have the complete freedom to identify ourselves with this body, which is mortal, which will die, or the Jivatma, which goes through multiple cycles of birth and death, or to identify ourselves with the pure consciousness. This freedom we have for Jnanam. We have the freedom for Bhakti. We have the freedom to realize and accept the Ishvara, the universal being, and we have the freedom to listen to the words of the Shastra, the scriptures, the people who have expounded it, and the bhakti towards Ishvara is our free will. And then we have the freedom for Vairagya towards the world. How much consider these things in this world as ourselves, as belonging to us, as we control them, we get influenced by them. Like these are all notions. And we have the full freedom for our level of Vairagya. What happens in this world, we have no control. But to say what or to say so what, that freedom we have. The freedom to calmly face all the ups and downs of life, the freedom to be detached, that freedom we have. So the only freedom we have is jnana, bhakti, vairagya. The rest are all is everything happens by the will of the Lord. Now, why does all these things happen? What is the purpose? We saw the Mundaka Upanishad's example of the two birds on a tree. Only when the bird eats a bitter fruit, it starts asking the question, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Who is Ishvara? So all those questions the bird asks only when it eats a bitter fruit. As long as it is eating sweet fruits, it is completely lost in indulgence in the world. So the whole goal of life is wisdom. The goal of life is not pleasure. The goal of life is wisdom. This entire universe, this entire life is designed to wake us up from the delusion, to make us ask the question, why is there suffering? What is the purpose? Who am I? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? So, life is designed to wake us up and ask these questions. And the Lord provides enough opportunity for satsanga and shastra shravana, and it is up to us to take it and develop jnana, bhakti, vairagya. So the only these three are in our hands. Developing jnanam, bhakti, vairagya. Remember this, right? Jnanam towards the jiva, bhakti towards Ishvara, and vairagya towards the jagat. These should be our attitudes towards jiva, jagat, Ishvara. And this is the only freedom we have. Now, as we develop in spiritual life, we will develop more jnanam, more bhakti, more vairagyam, and we will evolve, develop, and when we have the true knowledge of ourselves, both bhakti and vairagya will attain their culmination, where we are completely free from all bondage and we are free, which is Jivan Mukti. The goal is not something after this life. The goal is here and now. Jivan Mukti is the goal, to be free from all bondage, all sorrow. Here and now is the goal. And all bondage is only in the mind. Manaseva Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Moksha Yoho. So Bandha and Moksha are only in the mind. Whatever happens in this world will continue to happen as they are. Nothing will change in this world, nothing will change outside. Jnana, Bhakti, Vairagya, they are all inside only. Moksha is in the mind only. So, we are already free. We have a delusion. We have an ignorance. We have an assumption, a wrong assumption that we are not free. So, we have to drop that wrong assumption and establish our eternal intrinsic freedom. That's all that is to be done. How to do? That is where this whole spiritual sadhana comes. So the job is very easy. Accept that everything happens in this world by the Lord's will. There is absolutely no free will in how this world operates. My only free will is in jnana, bhakti, vairagya. This truth, if we are able to accept it wholeheartedly, that is a great progress. Then the next step is very easy. The difficulty is in accepting this much. So we will see how Narada Bhakti Sutra describes the path of bhakti. So we have seen that in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, in the beginning itself, Sri Ramakrishna gives these 5 disciplines, which I think we are never tired of repeating again and again, because this is the crux of the whole thing. These 5 points, if we remember every day and ensure that we align our thinking, our attitude towards this, along with this, then that is the way. So Sri Ramakrishna says, seek holy company, discriminate between permanent and transient, constantly chant the name of God, do all your duties with detachment, meditate in solitude occasionally. So these 5 are the core disciplines, and this is in effect the summary of Narada Bhakti Sutra. So whatever we will see, you can see that it is a expansion of these 5 points which Sri Ramakrishna has very beautifully summarized, and it is presented in the very first meeting of Mahendranath Gupta with Sri Ramakrishna. Now, coming to Narada Bhakti Sutra, there are totally 84 sutras, and the sutras themselves, there is not much of variations in the tradition, only some small changes in some letters here and there. There are some variations, but overall there is no change in the number of sutras. There is no difference in the text mostly. And there have been several commentaries, several translations of Narada Bhakti Sutras. And coming to our own tradition, of course, Sri Ramakrishna was very, very familiar with Narada Bhakti Sutras. And he repeatedly said, the way of Narada is the way for Kaliyuga. And there again, like he, in the gospel, he refers to that a sadhu from Multan came and he talked about Narada Bhakti Sutras to Sri Ramakrishna. And there are 2 variations there in whether the sadhu met Sri Ramakrishna in Kamarpukur or in in Kashi or in Dakshineshwar. That is ambiguity is there. In one place in the gospel, it says the sadhu from Multan met Sri Ramakrishna in Kashi, and where he talked to Sri Ramakrishna about Narada Bhakti Sutra. And there's another place it says the sadhu from Multan came to Dakshineshwar, where he met Sri Ramakrishna and talked to him about Narada Bhakti Sutras. So there is a small ambiguity there. But overall, Sri Ramakrishna repeatedly says the Bhakti according to Narada is the way for Kaliyuga. And many of the quotations in the gospel, many of the words, the illustrations he gives actually can be traced back to Narada Bhakti Sutras, many of the concepts. So even without referring to Narada Bhakti Sutras, there are many ideas which Sri Ramakrishna expresses in the gospel which can be traced back to Narada Bhakti Sutras. And Swami Vivekananda, he also has expounded Narada Bhakti Sutras, and particularly reference to it occurs in 2 places. One is in 1895 when Swamiji goes to London, where he meets Professor E.T. Sturdy. There, Professor Sturdy was already a scholar of Sanskrit, and Swami Vivekananda helped Professor E.T. Sturdy translate Narada Bhakti Sutras into English. That reference comes. And another place, a much more significant reference is Swami Vivekananda picked up Narada Bhakti Sutras as one of the texts to be studied in the spiritual retreat in the Thousand Islands Park, which is where Swami Vivekananda himself says he was at his best at that time. So during the spiritual retreat in Thousand Islands Park, which is documented as inspired talks. Now, in that spiritual retreat, Swami Vivekananda taught Narada Bhakti Sutras in detail to the students of that retreat. And in the complete works, there is a very loose translation of Narada Bhakti Sutras by Swamiji. And so many different traditions, they have published translations of Narada Bhakti Sutras, whether it is Divine Life Society or ISKCON or SRF or Chinmaya Mission. Almost every spiritual tradition, they have published Narada Bhakti Sutras translations. And our own order, we have 3 books on Narada Bhakti Sutras. One is, the first one was by Swami Tyagishananda, was a great monk who lived in Basavangudi. He has translated and he has connected Narada Bhakti Sutras with the scriptural background, with the Upanishads and Gita and all that. Because many of the sutras in Narada Bhakti Sutras can be traced to Gita, as we will see. And then the translation was done by Swami Prabhavananda, and he was in the US. And he has done the translation, and his explanation is more taking the ideas from Sri Ramakrishna and the words of direct disciples. He quotes extensively from the gospel, from the words of Swami Brahmananda, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Shivananda, and others. So this is a translation and an explanation of Narada Bhakti Sutras, which is very, very rooted in the Ramakrishna, the words and teachings of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And there's another book which is done by Swami Bhuteshananji, the 12th president of the Ramakrishna order. So he has done a beautiful book on Narada Bhakti Sutras. So these 3 books are available. And for this series, I will follow mostly Prabhavanandaji's book. However, for the translation of the sutras, I refer to Swami Tyagishananji's book. So, but for most of the explanations, as we see, we will base on Prabhavanandaji's book. Now, classifying the sutras into topics, there have been various traditions and of doing it. And Tyagishananji follows more the traditional one, like where there is divided into 6 chapters, and there is a way of classifying them, grouping them. And Prabhavanandaji follows a different one. Probably he did this grouping by himself. And there are different traditions, so we don't need to worry too much about it. But we can take help of this to quickly go through what are the topics covered in the Narada Bhakti Sutras. So first, supreme love is defined. What is bhakti is defined. And then renunciation is highlighted. And then examples of divine love are given. And then it is expounded, it is explained how bhakti is the highest goal of human life. And then how to attain supreme love, sadhanas for that. And the glory of satsanga is explained in detail. And then there are 2 types of devotion, preparatory and the final culmination. So the difference between the preparatory stages and the culmination are explained. And various forms of divine love and their manifestation is explained, and ethical virtues and worship of God are explained. So typically these are the topics covered in the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Now we'll go to the first section where supreme love is defined, verses 1 to 6. And the topics, more detailed topics, are bhakti is the supreme love of God. It makes the person immortal. it results in complete satisfaction. There is nothing more to be attained. So this is the summary of the first 6 verses of the Narada Bhakti Sutras. We'll look at the verses in detail. The first sutra starts with Athato Bhaktim Vyakyasyamaha. So we all can remember, or the Brahma Sutras start with Athato Brahma Jignasa, and the Dharma Sutras of Jaimini start with Athato Dharma Jignasa. So this is a very standard way of starting any sutra. So when you say Athato, Athato is a starting with Atha itself is a Mangala Shabda, and Atha means now. Ataha means therefore. So now basically indicates what is a prerequisite, and therefore indicates what is the expected outcome. So of course, without explanation, it really doesn't make sense literally. So when we say Atha, it is a key, so that using that, the student and the teacher can discuss what are the prerequisites of bhakti, of whatever topic. So in case of Athato Brahma Jignasa, Atha would be the prerequisites for studying Vedanta. So here, Atha, when we say, it is a key to discuss prerequisites for bhakti. Now, if you look at the scriptures, there are multiple places where this is discussed. Now, we have already seen the 4 stages which Krishna talks about, right? So, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam, Janaha Sukritin Arjuna, Artho Jignya Surartharthi, Jnanicha Bharatarshaba. So, we saw in detail what are the 4 types of devotees. We classified them into 3 stages, right? So, Artha and Artharthi, so that is the Kamya Bhakti. Then comes Nishkam Bhakti, which is Jignasu, and then Jnani, which is a culmination, Parabhakta. So now what is the prerequisite? So when we say Bhakti and you want to start Bhakti, obviously you have to start from the beginning. So you have to start as an Artha and Artharthi, which is okay, right? So it is okay to start Bhakti as Artha and Artharthi, but we should know that real Bhakti sadhana comes only in the second stage, which is Nishkama Bhakti and Jignasu Bhakti. And particularly, Narada Bhakti Sutra is fully about Jignasu Bhakti only, Nishkama Bhakti only. So what is the difference between Kamya Bhakti and Nishkama Bhakti? We have seen in Kama Bhakti, God is the means and world is the end. To have some good things in the world, to enjoy pleasures in life, and to get free from afflictions in life, the devotee worships Ishvara. So world is the goal and God is used as a means for that. That is Kamya Bhakti. That is the lower level of Bhakti, which is the beginning of Bhakti. And true Bhakti is Nishkama Bhakti, where God is the goal and the world is the means, right? So the Bhakta wants God and God only, right? And he is willing to go through any worldly experience, ups and downs of this world, and he wants to hold on to the Lord. So that is Nishkama Bhakti. So that is the second level of Bhakti. And the third level, once he has completely established in the Bhakti through knowledge, then it becomes a Jnani Bhakti. So To start with, bhakti has a, what is the prerequisite of bhakti? You have to accept that Ishvara is there. That's all, right? You have to accept that Ishvara is there. In the 9th chapter, Krishna says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag sadureva mantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. So even if a person of cantankerous behavior, even if a person of bad behavior, always Gita never brands people as bad. It always only brands action as bad. So everyone is good only. That out of ignorance, out of lack of conviction, some people do bad actions. So that is why it says Suduracharaha. So apichet Suduracharaha bhajate mam ananyabhag. If he worships me, sadhureva samantavyah. You should consider him as a sadhu only. So sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha, because he has made the right decision. He has decided to become a bhakta. Now that itself will make him a sadhu, Gita says. And what happens? Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati. And Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaf pranashyati. So hey Arjuna, declare to this world that my devotee never perishes. And so when you say my devotee, it is Krishna's devotee and also the devotee's devotees, right? So my teacher used to tell like that when Krishna said like Pratijani hi Kaunteya name bhaktaf pranashyati, then Arjuna stood on the chariot, and it's just a imagination, right? And then he said, "O world, listen everyone, Krishna's devotee doesn't perish." And then Krishna said, "Hey Arjuna, that is not what I told. You say na me bhakta pranashyati. Here me means the devotees, Arjuna's devotees, like one who seeks Arjuna also is taken care of by Krishna." So that is what happens, no? Like in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana, when Vibhishana comes for surrendering, now when Vibhishana is accepted, there are 4 people who have come along with Vibhishana. They are also accepted without any question. So you follow the great people and the Lord takes care of the followers of the people also. Dasa dasa, right? The dasas are also taken care of. So there is, so what is the prerequisite? So that is why apichet suduracharaha bhajate mam ananyabhag. So bhajate mam ananyabhag is what is needed. Even if you are a sudurachara, it is okay. Durachara, a person who does bad things. Sudurachara, a person who has done very bad things. So doesn't matter what you have done in the past, doesn't matter what all defects you have. Bhajate mam ananyabhag. The moment you come surrender to the Lord, that is what Ramayana it says, Sakruteva prapannaya tavasmi iti yachate. So you have to say tavasmi, tava asmi, I am yours. Oh Lord, I am yours. Right? And that also what? Sakruteva means even once, right? Just once in your life, with wholeheartedly prapannaya, with complete surrender, tavasmi iti yachate. If you have surrendered to the Lord saying, "Oh Lord, I am yours," then the Lord takes care of the rest. So several places, several scriptures, there are examples of all these. How the Lord never forsakes a person who has come and surrendered at his feet. So accept Ishvara. We have seen who is Ishvara, right? Ishvara is that supreme being who considers this whole world as himself. Ishvara exists. Ishvara is there. You know, I remember a beautiful thing. So we had Yuvak Sangha in also Ramakrishna Math, and Swami Sukat Anandji used to take classes He is no more. He passed away a few months back. And in one of the classes, Swami Sukatmananji told a very beautiful thing. He said, see, in olden days, people did not used to believe in God. But after the advent of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, they have established the presence of God so strongly that in modern days we have no reason to doubt the presence of God. So, in olden days means before Sri Ramakrishna. Before Sri Ramakrishna, people had doubt, does God exist? Whatever is told in the scriptures, is it true? Or is it all only stories? Like before Sri Ramakrishna's advent, people had all those doubts. But after Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna lived in our own times, and he was critically analyzed by several modern minds, including the mind of Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda did not accept Sri Ramakrishna that easily. He tested him, questioned him at every step. And with all this, it has been undoubtedly established that Ishvara exists. Now, after the advent of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, we have absolutely no reason to question the existence of God. Like, are we more intelligent than Vivekananda? Are we more intelligent than Sri Ramakrishna or the direct disciples? Or even, take Swami Ranganathanji or even Swami Chinmayananji. Like, are we more intelligent than them that we question something which they have accepted? So, now acceptance of the truth of Ishvara is the core. So, when we say Atha, what is the prerequisite for Bhakti? Just acknowledging Ishvara. Ishvara exists, right? The moment we accept Ishvara, and the moment you accept Ishvara as the supreme being of this entire universe, of which I am a minuscule part, when you say I here, body and mind. When this body, mind, and this Jivatma is a small fraction of this entire universe, which is Ishvara, automatically humility will come, surrender will come. Now, that is what is meant by understanding and accepting Ishvara. You cannot say, I have understood and accepted Ishvara, but not surrendered to him. It means you are not understood. If you have correctly understood the true relationship between Jivatma and Paramatma, there is absolutely no possibility of you surrendering to him. So, apichet suduracharaha bhajate mam ananyabhag. So, even if you are a sudurachara, even if you have done so much of wrong things in the past, right? We have examples like Girish Chandra Ghosh, Kalipada Ghosh, right? Still, the moment you surrender to the Lord, the rest is taken care of. So that is what is Atha. Atha is know who is Ishvara, and the sign of correctly knowing who is Ishvara is automatic surrender, right? Now, second is Ataha, therefore. Why should we surrender? Why should we follow the spiritual path? Because we want to be free from sorrow. Sorrow in all its manifestations. Anger, jealousy, right? Desire. All these things are various manifestations of sorrow only. No one says, I was angry, I was very happy when I was angry. No. Whenever anyone is angry, the person is sad only. Or jealous. No one is happy being jealous. Right? So the Shat Ripu, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. That is all the Shat Ripus. They are all various manifestations of sorrow only. So sorrow is a general term which can indicate all of them. Shoka, right? Shoka is the problem. That is why we saw, right, last class, Ana Anushochanti Panditaha. So the entire Gita Statparya is wise man does not grieve, right? So complete freedom from all sorrow through the wisdom of who am I, who is God. That is all is Vedanta. Complete freedom from all sorrow in all its manifestations through the wisdom of who am I and who is God. Now, that is the Athaha. Why are we doing all these things? Because we want to be free from sorrow. Then, what is the subject matter? Bhakti. Bhakti is the subject matter, right? Devotion. Now, what is bhakti? We will see as we proceed different definitions, dimensions of bhakti. It comes from the dhatu bhuj, right? Which is basically like the you worship, you serve, right? You engage, everything. So the moment you have understood who am I and who is Ishvara, the natural automatic attitude and behavior would be bhakti. No one needs to teach bhakti. Of course, there are disciplines, practices of bhakti to deepen the emotions. But what is important is understand who is Ishvara, and the very understanding will automatically give you bhakti. And what is the sambandha here? Vyakyasyamaha. So, why is this book written? To explain. So, bhakti is natural. The moment you understand who is Ishvara, bhakti is natural. So, this Narada Bhakti Sutras just explain and expound the various aspects of it. That is all it is, right? So, this way, the first sutra, just as with any book, covers the they take different stories of different devotees and then say how, you know, there is no prerequisite for bhakti in reality. The examples taken are, for example, you have uh, Gajendra, right? Gajendra was an elephant. Now, what Panditya did Gajendra have? Right? Nothing. And Vidura was the son of a servant maid. Now, what Kula did Vidura have? And Dhruva was just 5 years old. And Prahalada, when he got bhakti, was not even born. Even in the Garbha itself, he developed bhakti. And we saw examples of Valmiki, right? So, and there is the story of Ajamila, right? Who at the last moment of his life, he called out the name of the Lord, Narayana, but actually what he meant was the name of his youngest son. But then because he chanted the name of Narayana, And of course, in his early life, he had accepted God and he had surrendered to the Lord. He was taken by the Vishnu's Kinkaras. So, having these examples of you know, various devotees, which include even an elephant, we can say that there is no other prerequisite for bhakti other than just accepting and surrendering to the Lord. Right? So, those examples, and then Dhruva, if you say, Dhruva started with the Kamya Bhakti. He wanted back his father's recognition, his father's favor. We saw the story of Dhruva yesterday. And later, when he had the vision of Narayana, then he got the wisdom that he graduated automatically to Nishkama Bhakti. Prahalada, right from the beginning itself, he was a Nishkama Bhakta. So there are various types of bhaktas. If you see, there are full range is there, right? And yeah, so these are the ideas which we can discuss in this. So this is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. So according to our tradition, any book has to start with what is called as Anubandha Chatushtaya, which has to talk about 4 topics, right? First one is the Adhikari. So who is it for? Which is what we saw here, right? Atha. Second one is Prayojana. What is the intended outcome? That is what is indicated by Atha here. So Atha, right? So Atha indicates Adhikari. Ataha indicates Prayojanam. And Bhaktim indicates the Vishaya, like what is the message of this book. And Vyakyasyamaha indicates the Sambandha. Why is this book for? Right? What is the relation? What should the Adhikari do with the subject, the Vishaya, to get the Prayojanam? So that is called Sambandha, which is what is explained in this book, Vyakyasyamaha. So that way, this first sutra covers the Anubandha Chatushtaya. Now, let us go to the second sutra, second and third sutras. Sa Tvasmin Paraprema Rupa. There are 2 forms of this. Some of the books, some of the renderings says Parama Prema Rupa. Some of them says Paraprema Rupa. Both the meaning is the same. So no problem. So Sa Tu Asmin Paraprema Rupa. Means Sa here means that, which is Bhakti. Bhakti is feminine. So it says Sa. That Bhakti Tu. But Asmin, in this, Para or Parama Prema Rupa, is in the nature of supreme love. So now the beauty of this sutra is, and in fact the entire Narada Bhakti Sutra is, it never mentions the name of any deity. It is completely non-sectarian. So that Narada Bhakti Sutras will be applicable to devotees of Vishnu also, devotees of Shiva also, devotees of Shakti, Ganapati, Anjaneya, Kartikeya, like whoever is the deity doesn't matter. It talks about Ishvara in the most generic way. So that Ishvara can be worshipped in any form you want. In fact, even people of other religions also can use Narada Bhakti Sutras to develop devotion towards their own ways of sadhana. So, Asmin basically means in this. And also by using the word Asmin, it doesn't use the word that, it uses the word this, which means this is an indication that the Ishvara that we are talking about is not someone who is far away. This Ishvara is in our own hearts. This Ishvara is our own true nature. This Ishvara is our own consciousness reflected in our own heart. Right? This Asmin is a very, very beautiful word used here. It shows that Ishvara is the closest person to us. In the Islamic tradition, they say Allah is closer to us than the jugal. Is our own, the centermost part of our own core is Ishvara. Right? So Ishvara is the closest to us. Suhrut, Krishna says in the Gita, right? He is the Suhrut. He is the well-wisher, right, of every jiva. So he is the closest to us. The Asmin word says that Ishvara is the closest to us. And towards that Ishvara, who is the closest to us, Parama Prema Rupa, in the form of supreme love. Now, love is something which we all understand, the word love, right? Now, we like this, we like that, and we know that extreme, highest or deepest likeness, when it is very high, then it is called as love. Like, you can say the superlative form of like is love. Now, when we say love, what do we mean by love? Nisargadatta Maharaj gives a very beautiful definition for love. He says, love is the willingness to sacrifice. Like, how do you measure love towards a person? Suppose person A loves person B. Let us say a mother loves her child. Now, what do you mean by a mother loves her child? Because she will do anything for this child. So the mother will be is willing to sacrifice any convenience towards for the sake of the child. So love always goes with sacrifice. So the person who loves is willing to sacrifice anything for the sake of the loved entity. So when you say Parama Prema Rupa, the highest love, it means the devotee is willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of this loved entity, which is Ishvara. Now that is Bhakti. So Bhakti always goes with Vairagya, sacrifice, Tyaga. And that is true even for human love also. When you say a person loves another person, it means this person is willing to sacrifice anything for that person. Then only it is called love. Love is always giving. There is no expectation in love. If it is expectation, that is not love. That is attachment. So when we say love, we have to be very clear. We are talking about love, which is always giving, which is always sacrificing. That is what is love. And Parama Prema Rupa means love to the highest extent. Now that is what is Bhakti. And that Bhakti is towards Ishvara, who is the closest to us. Right? Which means, so this Jnana automatically comes here, right? So knowing that Ishvara is our own self, the consciousness in us is Ishvara, right? Is a reflection of Ishvara. We saw the Gita shloka, right? 15th chapter shloka. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. This jiva is an amsha of myself, the Lord says, right? Mamaiva amshaha jiva bhute jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So this I in me is nothing but Ishvara, right? So that is the closeness this Asmin indicates. So, Sri Ramakrishna defines prema as the intense love for God that makes one forget the world and forget even his own body. That is, rise above physical consciousness. So, automatically, this means love is got nothing to do with physicality. There is no physicality in love, because by this love, you completely forget your own body, you forget your own mind, your own likes and dislikes, your own emotions, everything is forgotten. So automatically, bhakti will pull you up, raise you up away from identifying from this body and mind. So that is will naturally happen. And Sri Ramakrishna describes the highest vision of God in the following words. He indeed has attained supreme illumination, who not only realizes the presence of God, but knows him as both personal and impersonal, who loves him intensely, talks to him, partakes of his bliss. Such an illumined soul realizes the bliss of God while he is absorbed in meditation, attaining oneness with the indivisible, impersonal being, as he realizes the supreme bliss when he comes back to normal consciousness and he sees this universe as a manifestation of that being and as a divine play. So, this is a beautiful description of what is the realization of bhakti. So, in meditation, the bhakta completely merges with the Lord and realizes and he experiences highest bliss. And when he comes back into the world to normal consciousness, he sees this universe as a manifestation of the same being whom he meditated upon with his eyes closed. So that is what is bhakti. Now we have examples of Prahalada. Prahalada, when the Lord appears before Prahalada after killing Hiranyakashipu, Narasimha asks Prahalada, Prahalada, I want to give you a boon. Tell me, what do you want? Prahalada says, Oh Lord, I don't want anything. I am already satisfied with devotion to you. I don't want anything. And then Narasimha, he insists. He says, see, I have come. I want to give something. And Prahalada says, Oh Lord, please don't make me a businessman. My bhakti is not a business. He uses the word vyapara. I am not a it is not vyapara, right? And so a bhakti, kamya bhakti, Prahalada calls us vyapara. And Gita uses a word which is still more stronger. The 13th chapter, the supreme bhakti, Krishna describes as bhakti avyapacharini. So, avyapacharini. So basically, kamya bhakti is considered as prostitution, vyapachara. Nishkama bhakta is avyapacharini, right? This is a word used in the 13th chapter in the Gita. True bhakti is without expecting anything in return. And expecting something in return is to behave like a vyapachari. That's what Gita says. Anyway, so when we say bhakti, bhakti is always giving. Love is always giving without expecting anything in return. This we should completely understand. No worldly benefits are expected out of love. Peace is expected, right? Shanti is expected, but no worldly benefit. That is the Parama Prema Rupa. Now, more descriptions of bhakti is given. Amrita Swarupa. Amrita means immortality, immortal bliss. So, bhakti is of the nature of immortal bliss. Now, what do we mean by Amrita? This we have to be very clear. So, Mrita means death. Amrita means immortal. So, what dies? What changes? The body and mind changes. The body is the one which dies. No one can prevent the body from dying. Age, disease, death, right? All these things will belong to the body. Now, Jara, Vyadi. So, Krishna says, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. All these dukkha will happen to the body. And this is the dosha of the body. You cannot prevent it. So, the body can never be immortal. The body is mortal. So, what do we mean by Amrita? What do you mean by immortality? What do you mean by we attain immortality? Giving up attachment or giving up identity with the body is called becoming immortal. Now, this body goes through one death and the Jivatma goes through the repeated cycle of birth and death. Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam. Right? So, giving up the identity with the body and giving up the identity with the Jivatma will result in our identity with our true self, which is already immortal, which is of the nature of immortality itself. So, in reality, we are never mortal. We are by nature immortal. We are Amrita. Amritasya Putraha. Right? The Upanishad says. So, we are already immortal. But we have wrong identification with this Jivatma, wrong identification with this body and mind, and we think we are mortal, which is a wrong idea. Giving up that wrong idea establishes our intrinsic immortality. So, and bhakti will give us that. Amrita Swarupa. And also, bhakti will also give us bliss within. Right? So, meditation upon the Lord naturally triggers bliss within. We can feel tangible happiness within. Right? So, meditation will result in bliss within. So, that also is a result of bhakti. Even in the mind, right, we will have that bliss. Atindriya Sukham. Right? There is an Atindriya Sukham, which Krishna describes in the 6th chapter. Right? Buddhi Grahyam Atindriyam. So, he says there is a bliss which is experienced in meditation, which is Buddhi Grahyam, which is tangible, experienceable, and it is Atindriyam. but which is not originating in the indriyas, not out of the sense objects. It is not a sense pleasure. It is the buddhi grahyam atindriyam sukham, right? So, bhakti itself will give us bliss, tangible happiness, and which can be experienced, right? So we call it as the Ananda Lahari, right? When your person meditates upon the Lord, he will be hit by waves and waves of bliss. So that is also indicated by this Amrita Swarupa Cha, right? Then the next sutra says, Yal labdhva puman siddho bhavati amruto bhavati tripto bhavati. So having gained which, right, after getting this supreme parama prema bhakti, puman, that person, what does he become? Siddhaha bhavati, becomes perfect. Perfect means what? There is nothing more to be attained, right? This body can never be perfect. We have to remember that. What do you mean by perfection? What do you mean by siddha? This body can never be perfect because this body will be subject to jara vyadi, right? Old age and disease. The body can never be perfect. The mind also can never be perfect. It will always have ups and downs. The intellect can never be perfect. There is nothing called 100% memory. We can't even remember what we ate for breakfast day before yesterday. The mind is never perfect. Intellect is never perfect. So all these things are never perfect. They are all fallible. Only thing which is perfect is that we can gain vairagya, by which all the imperfections of the body and mind don't matter anymore. That is what is perfection. Shifting our identity to that entity which can never be imperfect, which is pure consciousness, by which we don't care about the imperfections of this body and mind. That is what is meant by Siddhaha Bhavati. You should not interpret it as health or relationships, such things. No, that that is not the goal at all. The world is not the goal. Okay. So when we say Siddhaha Bhavati, it means we shift our identity to the pure consciousness, and any amount of imperfections of this body, mind, this world, relationships, all those things will absolutely become immaterial. That is what is meant by Siddhaha Bhavati. Amritaha Bhavati becomes immortal, that we already discussed, right? Triptaha Bhavati becomes contented, right? He's absolutely satisfied. Tripti. So this Tripti is the goal. Shanti, Tripti, right? That is what you will get. Sutra 5. Yat prapya, having gained which, na kinchit vanchati, na shochati, na dveshti, na ramate, na utsahi bhavati. So having gained which, na kinchit vanchati, never desires anything. Na shochati, does not grieve. Na dveshti, does not hate. Na ramate, does not rejoice. Na utsahi bhavati, does not get overly excited. Right? Calm, cool, peaceful. That is what is God. Right? And if you remember Gita, you can map all these words to in the Gita, the 12th chapter, you have the Parabhakta Lakshana, right? Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Maitra Karuna Yevacha Nirmamo Nirahankaraha Sashantim Adhigachati, right? So basically, like in that series of 8 shlokas, you can find from the 12th chapter, 13th shloka to the end of that chapter, Parabhakta Lakshana comes, you can find all the same words, right? Na shochati, na kankshati, na dveshti, right? So all these things you can map it, right? Krishna says na kanchati, here it says na vanchati. The meaning is the same. Na shochati, na dveshti, right? So the same message, it's repeated in the Gita, from the Gita, right? Then sixth one, yat jnatva matto bhavati stabdho bhavati atma ramo bhavati, right? So knowing which, mattaha bhavati, he becomes intoxicated. Stabdaha bhavati, becomes inert. Atma ramaha bhavati, he becomes self-dwelling, right? So he is absolutely satisfied with himself. Now, if you remember in the gospel, all these words Sri Ramakrishna says. A jnani behaves like a child, behaves like an intoxicated person, becomes inert, right? The same words, mattaha, stabdaha. So now we all know where those words that Sri Ramakrishna mentions in the gospel, where they all come from, right? So they're all directly taken from the Narada Bhakti Sutras. So that way, if we go through Narada Bhakti Sutra and then when we read the gospel, right, after this, we'll be able to figure out, easily map, we'll be able to recognize that, oh yeah, this is what Sri Ramakrishna says there. I'll read the section there. Sri Ramakrishna described a perfect soul in the following ways. Sometimes he will act as like a 5-year-old child, or he may seem intoxicated or mad, or he may be apparently inert, silent and motionless. He is not bound by any law or code, but nothing he does will be immoral or unethical. His actions and motivations are selfless without his trying to be selfless, just as a flower emits its fragrances. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna says about the Jnani Bhakta or the Parabhakta. So the same ideas Sri Ramakrishna repeats in the gospel. Fine. So this ends the first section, the verses 1 to 6, which defines supreme love for God. So what have we seen? Bhakti is the supreme love. It makes the person immortal. It results in complete satisfaction. There is nothing more to be attained. This is what is Bhakti. This is the Bhakti we are talking about. So as you can see, this is exactly what is Jivan Mukti. Right? Jnanam, Jivan Mukti, self-realization, God realization, enlightenment, nirvana, they're all synonyms. Whatever the description which we have seen now is exactly what Krishna calls as Sita Prajna Lakshana, Parabhakta Lakshana. The second chapter it is called Sita Prajna Lakshana. 12th chapter it is called Parabhakta Lakshana. 14th chapter it is called Gunatita Lakshana. 13th chapter it is called Jnani Lakshana. So different chapters, different names are given, but Krishna himself says they are all the same. It is exactly the same person, the same condition of Jivan Mukti. That is the description which we see. This is the goal, and it is easily attainable by the discipline of Bhakti, which as we go along, we will see. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Ram Krishna. Jai Ram.